today's session, and that is you have a very unique opportunity. This is the only time period that I do this during the Full Body Fix week, and that is you can schedule yourself in for a semi-private session with me. There is a short and simple application process. Basically, we ask you a few questions. We have more individuals asking to attend this session than we can actually fulfill. So we have a few questions to make sure we're connecting with the right people in this meeting for that. And it's specifically also for those individuals who are interested in becoming a VIP. And that's what we call our clients. We don't call our clients clients. We call them very important people who become very impressive physically. So we have a very special opportunity for you to be supported by myself and my elite fitness doctor team to go through all the things that you're going through in the Full Body Fix, but on a personal level and so much, much more. So if you're interested in having us help you personally go through all of these things and you would like to learn more about that and potentially become a VIP, and we're not sure if you're a right fit for us or not yet, and when we meet, we'll help figure that out. We only allow those who are ideal fits to come into our VIP family. Just like you'd want to see if we're an ideal fit for you, we want to see the same thing. So you have a unique opportunity to schedule yourself in for that semi-private consultation. The way that you would do that is you go to the bottom of your Zoom toolbar and you'd find chat. And when you find chat, you'll find a message on there that says, this is the link to schedule a semi-private session with Robbie. We have very limited spots available, my wonderful Full Body Fixers. So we have some spots still available. I'll go ahead and click the link that's that blue writing below that post, and you'll be able to find the time that works for you. And if you can't find a time that works for you, you can message Patricia in the chat and she can help you further. And then again, there's just a few questions. You'll submit the form and we'll schedule you accordingly. And looking forward now getting into Q&A. And how do you participate in Q&A? Looks like there's lots of advanced Zoom users here that already have their hands up. That's awesome. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, go to the bottom of the Zoom toolbar and go across until you find a button that says reactions. And it's a smiley face with a plus sign on the head. You simply click that button, a box will open, and on the bottom of that box, it says raise hand. You'd click raise hand, your digital hand raises, and I'll call on you in the order of which you raise your hand, okay? With that being said, let's get started with our awesome Q&A. And first up is Grace. Hello and welcome to you, Grace.
My question is, where do we get the exercise notes that you talk about?
So the exercise checklist will come at the email goes out right about now. So so the email gets sent out after this session. So for today's session, you'll get an email with the session replay from today. You'll also get the exercise checklist. And if you're not finding that, it is common to go into like a spam folder or a junk folder. So just look for fitness doctor in your subject line, and you should be able to find it that way. Any other advice?
I didn't find it from Saturday.
Yeah, so there's two. That's one thing. The other thing is making sure you have the right email that you're looking in, that you registered for the Full Body Fix. And as long as those two match, you should definitely find it. Every person who registers gets an email from us on that. And if you want further help on that, I would suggest you message Patricia and she could help you locate that easier. And hello and welcome to you, Agnes. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Hi.
I have a question about squats.
Okay.
So
awesome.
I do 100 every morning, 100 every evening. It's part of the nitric oxide dump. Have you heard of that?
Just tell me one more time. What is it?
It's called the nitric oxide dump. I do it twice a day. So I do like about 100 squats. I do them rapidly. And my son, he told me to turn the toes slightly out when I do the squat. Is that all right to do?
I'm not a big fan of turning toes out in squats, and
No? Okay.
the reason why is because so the greater trochanter, which is the top of your femur, okay, the top of your big thigh bone, plugs into the pelvis, right? And so the joint that's housed on the pelvis is housed slightly forward. Okay, and so if you stick the joint here and it's housed slightly forward, if we open the toes up, we're basically souffling the pelvis, and then we're creating excessive shear stress at the sacroiliac joint, which is where the sacrum meets the two halves of the pelvis. We're creating excess pressure there. Now, of course, if you're doing body weight, it's not a lot of excess pressure as those who do like weight with bars on their back and that type of thing. But regardless, we see in the research, there's a lot of joint degeneration for those who use squats continuously for long periods of time in that region. It's much more so for those who do squats with feet out than feet straight. The other thing that happens is you're strength training the tissues. So all the external rotators of the hip, which we have 6 major rotators of the hip, we're putting those, because the feet are turning out, those external rotators are shortening. So we're training the tissue in a shortened position for stabilization. And oftentimes, especially in those age 50 plus, you can get things like sciatica, which is impingement of the nerve, the sciatic nerve. And one of those external rotators, the piriformis, is entrapping the sciatic nerve, and then you could get pain down your leg. So there's all kinds of joint degeneration, excessive pressure that's caused by turning the feet out when we squat. And also, we don't have to use as much ankle range of motion when we turn the feet out, which is why a lot of people like to do that. They don't have the ankle range of motion, so they want to turn the feet out to get away with doing a squat and not feeling like their heels are raising. But what I would advise is to keep the feet straight, don't squat as deep, work on your ankle mobility, and over time build up to full range of motion with improved ankle mobility. So that's some of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of toe out in squat.
Well, thank you. I have another quick question then. What about doing squats rapidly? Is that okay? Because I mean, with swinging my arms forward when I squat.
There's definitely a significant metabolic stimulus from doing rapid squats. You're using large muscles in a continuous pattern, so you're really asking your tissues to do a lot of endurance work. My only concern is making sure that you have proper alignment when doing that, and making sure that you're not going way past what you're too far past what your body's adapted to for intensity, right? So an individual that's first starting squats, which it doesn't sound like it's your case, I would strongly advise against doing fast motions, because we lose control of the alignment, the positioning. It's more likely to get injured and cause excessive joint stress. But once you have great alignment and you have good functionality and you get adapted to it, then there's nothing wrong with doing fast squats. It's a really good metabolic stimulus to your body, but there's some biomechanical things that should be trained into you first before doing those squats with fast motion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I love doing the nitric oxide dump. So it's rapid, all the major muscles.
Yeah, and working the major muscles is really important.
And you have to keep your mouth shut because it builds up nitric oxide in the tissue.
Yeah, by breathing through your nose. Correct. Yes.
Right.
And the primary thing is breathing through your nose. So those, but you don't necessarily have to do high intensity exercise with breathing through your nose. You could just breathe through your nose with more moderate controlled exercise and also get a nitric oxide increase. So I'm definitely against having exercise intensity and performance come before mechanics, because that's the exact thing that causes breakdown for most individuals. The first step is mindset, connection with the body, feeling what the body's doing, feeling the alignment. And then second is having the optimal mechanics. And last is doing performance. So what you're speaking of is the same reason why 66% of professional athletes of their injuries are non-contact, because they favor performance over optimal mechanics. And then in the NFL, 67% non-contact injuries, which is quite impressive. And it's for getting these blocks of focal points out of order, which I would say the high percentage of people do, and they run into problems from it. So I would encourage you to force yourself to filter through optimal mindset and comfortability, optimal mechanics, and lastly, arrive at performance. You're going to get so much more results, because your goal is not to be fit just next week or next month, but for the rest of your life. And to do that, we have to stay functioning well and feeling really well with the exercise for a sustained period of time. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Lots of love to you, Angie, Agnes. Lots of love to you. And Elaine, hello and welcome.
I'm unmuting. I'm sorry. So I was waiting for today's session because you dealt with the knees and the hips. I had two surgeries, one surgery on each knees for torn meniscus, and my knees are very, very sensitive. So getting on the floor is very hard for me, because if I put my knees down, it hurts, and I don't know why that is. I'm very, very, very badly out of shape. My question is, the exercises that you did today on the floor, can one do them while laying in bed?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's very good. Okay, thank you. Now, when you did the squats, and the squats and the lunges, and I was able to do that because it was standing up. Is it normal for people who are like me, out of shape or whatever, to feel a little wobbliness happening? You know, I put the weight back on my heel, and okay, so that's normal. All right. So the fact that I can do it in bed is great, and I thank you very much for that, because my hips are totally tight, and and I think I thank you so much for doing this, number one. And I like your mindset, that you want the mindset, you want the mechanics first versus, jumping up buildings in a single bound. And I appreciate what you're doing, and I can't wait for the next session. So thank you very much.
You're so very welcome, Elaine. Yes, absolutely. And then one more point for you really quick on squats is the best place for you to start squats is from the seated position and then going up. So get good alignment from the bottom, because most individuals, when they start squatting, it's kind of a scary thing. You're concerned you might fall and such, especially if you're not currently fitness adapted. So start from a seated position, like on your couch, stand with good mechanics, come back to the couch. You can either sit fully or just kind of hover and go back up. It's going to be the safest way. And also you can trust making sure that you have a stable seat behind you. You can kind of push the envelope to stay more upright. And if you fall, you're just going to have a seat on the couch. So you wouldn't want to do this with this chair that's going to like move. This would be a really bad idea. You start from a seat that will not move, is super stable, and even has some back padding support. That's a great place to start squats from. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course. Hello, Rona. Hello, welcome to you.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm calling you from New Zealand. Really enjoying the sessions. Feeling a little bit like Elaine, very, very, very unfit. When I used to be really quite fit, played a lot of squash and stuff like that. That's probably when I did a lot of the damage. I've had 2 hip replacements and 1 knee replacement. If I'd known all these things years ago, I may not have had those. But my concern is, if I do, when I do these stretches, I'm really concerned about dislocation of the new joints. Is it going to be okay for me to do these? Because I was told, particularly around the hip, not to push my knee over to the inside, because that can cause a dislocation in the hip. So I'm just a little bit anxious about that, because I do know I need to work on those areas because they are very tight.
Well, yeah, and you have a good point. What I would do is you can do the stretch. You can also do the stretch lying and use like a large pillow underneath where the knee's going to. So you're
Mhm.
not, it's not just free floating in space and getting the pressure on the hip joint. So you would come down to just a point that you're feeling a little bit of stretch, and then have the whole inside of the thigh and the knee supported with, for example, with a couple pillows or one big pillow. And then you can then apply the manual stretch. Another thing that's really interesting that I use personally for this exercise is a percussion gun. And you can buy these like on, Patricia could actually potentially drop a link for you here. But the percussion gun is a gun that's, it's a high speed ball that goes in and out, and it basically creates a massaging effect. And so it's stronger than most people's fingers to be able to work on those tissues. Now you do need to be careful you don't put it on bone or the wrong tissue, but it is one way to not have to do the stretch so much, but then get more local pressure, which is also elongating the tissue. So you don't have to do the lever based stretch. You can do a little lever with a lot more local pressure that is mobilizing the tissue. So that's
Okay.
what I would recommend for you. Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much.
You're very
Appreciate that.
welcome. Absolutely. Great questions. And Mary, hello and welcome to you.
Hi,
Hi.
I have posterior tibialis tendonitis. I've had it for about 15 months, and I've had physical therapy. I was wondering, do you think there could be an imbalance?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very likely, actually, especially when you continue to have that issue. What did you find from the feet session? Do you remember?
I was in so much pain afterwards that I felt like I was 104 years old. And I do Pilates regularly. So, the hip mobility is definitely there. But it's just on my right ankle, and it goes up the calf. It's very painful.
Yeah, I would need to take a deeper look at what your ranges of motion are in your hamstrings, in your calf, in your ankle, and also look at some ankle stability factors as well to be able to really tell you, okay, well, here's the limitation, so we need to address these things. But the biggest thing is I would look at that you have good quality dorsiflexion, so that you have the significant ranges of motion for that. Dorsiflexion is where the foot is coming towards the shin. So it's coming back towards the shin.
Right?
It's important from a straight knee position that you're at least 27 degrees with that. And the way that you would measure that is you can buy one of these goniometer devices. It's very inexpensive. And you would literally just keep your legs straight. And it'd be best in this case to have someone else measure for you. But just like I showed in session 1, you'd lean forward, keep that back knee straight, foot heading straight, and you would want to have at least 27 degrees. And if not, then you could look to do different mobility exercise specifically for your dorsiflexion, like I showed in session 1. That would be really important, because if you're having limitations and range of motion, that small tissue of the posterior tibialis is going to get stressed more easily. So it's kind of like the weak link you're going to feel the most.
Could there be an injury that might have caused that? I do know I sprained my ankle, and probably about 5 months before I experienced a whole lot of pain, and I continued to walk, and maybe that was part of the problem.
Yeah, the other exercise, now that you told me that, is that I would definitely do the ankle inversion and eversion. Is that
Yes.
exercise we finished the session
Yeah.
with? I show it without any resistance in session 1, just so everyone can do it. But in the exercise checklist that you will have received in your email, that exercise checklist shows how to do it with a band resistance. And that would add even more stimulus, which would help get your ankles even stronger. So I'm assuming when you sprayed your ankle, maybe like, did you step off a curb or like and turn your ankle? Or
I stepped off a rock. I hit a rock and twisted.
and then the ankle turned to the inside.
Right.
So you strained like your peroneals and posterior tibialis. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would really encourage you to work on both inversion and eversion, but especially that eversion, and getting that stronger is going to help you significantly.
Okay,
Yeah, take the pressure off the
thank
posterior.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Jeanette, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Thank you very much, Robbie. I have one question about the stretch that you were doing with the leg at 90 degrees angle and stretching it from side to side. Is your hip of the leg, of the direction you're going, your right hip, so you're doing the right hip to the left, is it lifting up, or do you have to hold it down and therefore you're just stretching the muscles? Do you know what I mean?
Say that one more time, please.
Say this is the leg that you're using, say my elbow, my bottom, my hip, and I'm stretching it that way. Is it all right if this side of your glute comes up, or is it supposed to stay down and you're just...
Good question. Yeah. So the backside of your pelvis should stay primarily down when you go, when you're doing the inside stretch. Yeah. So you do want your...
It's down, but I notice my glutes lifting up. So
your hip is going to rotate to that side, but you don't want to get to where you're doing this. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so as long as the pelvis stays like this, like if this is the floor, as long as the pelvis stays like this, the leg can come up and the hips moving like this, but you're not having this happen. Because if you're doing that, what's happening is the range of motion is no longer coming from the hip. It's starting to come from the lower back. It's coming from the lumbar spine, and the lumbar spine is not designed to have like a lot of mobility. In fact, the research shows us that beyond about 3 degrees of rotation per bone disc bone interface, the way the spine's designed, around 3 degrees and more, it's usually going to increase pain and dysfunction in the lumbar spine. So we want to try to stay away from doing lumbar spine rotations. Hip rotation is great. That's what we want, but we got to stabilize and keep the right position to keep it in the hip and not go to the lower back.
okay. So my right leg is obviously a lot weaker than the left. Is it possible for me to just get on the ground and show you me sitting cross-legged? Because I've been to quite a few physiotherapists, quite a few exercise therapists, and they just hand me a sheet of exercises that don't actually solve the problem. My right leg, my knee, I cannot get it down, and it started about 3 years ago. I don't know what started it. Can I hop on the ground and show you?
Sure. Yeah. If you're set up for that, absolutely.
Let's see how this goes. I don't. Can you see the difference?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I that way, it's a little better, but yeah, I can't get the hip down. And the pain of it is here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Do you ever have pain on the inside of your knee on that side?
a little bit.
Like where your left hand, exactly where your left hand started to touch.
Yeah, but not that.
Like if you grab your that and just like dig your thumb in the, yeah, what kind of where your right hand is now? Like, do you feel,
I feel it up in the
but do you feel around your knee where you're putting your thumb?
yeah, not severe, but yeah, it's there. It's more sensitive than the other knee.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So go ahead and uncross your legs. And then basically do the same thing, but I want you to lay your ankle on the other side. So yeah, you're going to pick your right ankle up and cross it over your thigh like this. So instead of yeah. And you might have to lay down. You actually might have to that's the right idea, but I want you to do it the right. So what I would say is put your feet like towards your curtain direction. So that way, yeah. And then lay down. You're going to need to lay down. You don't have the range of motion to do it seated. Yeah. So cross your right ankle over your left. No, sorry. Cross your right ankle over your knee is what I meant to say. Apologize. Yeah. Like this. Yes, yes. Now start to slide your left heel up towards your butt. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now stop. You're good. That's more than enough. Now so now what you want to do is you're starting to arch your lower back a little bit. So you want to try to get your pelvis more flat to the floor, take some comfortable deep breaths, and then take your right hand and push on, actually, first of all, to protect your knee. Anytime we get in this position, you want to dorsiflex. So pull your toes back towards your shin on the right side. Yeah, a little, yes. It helps to protect and stabilize the knee. Now what I want you to do is take your right hand and push on your thigh. Gently to start with. Yeah. But so I'm seeing that your lower back is increasing arch a bit when you do that. So we want to try to keep, like what you'd end up doing, Jeanette, is you'd take like a pillow, like a small pillow, and put it under your pelvis so that it kind of pulls your butt down, so that your lower back is having to kind of like, here's the pillow, here's your butt, here's your lower back. It's going to make your lower back want to lay flatter. So you're going to mobilize the tissues and keep the pelvis in the right position. Because when you do mobility exercises on your hip, it's attached to your pelvis. So what the body will do is, we don't have the range of motion, so we're going to make compensations other places. So it's really important when you do this exercise, you keep your pelvis neutral, which you're going to learn a lot about in the next session, but you want to have your pelvis neutral. So one of the things that'll help you do that is just using a small pillow, put your pelvis on the pillow. Again, like here, you're laying on your back, then your back's going to go more flat, then do this stretch, and you'd push on that side. And then I'm going to have one more thing for you that will really make a big difference. Yeah, that'll work also a little bit. You need a little more, but for now, it'll be enough to make a difference. Yeah. So here's what I want you to do. Push on the right side. Yeah. And now, what I want you to do is contract the hip muscles back against your right hand with 10% effort, like you're fighting yourself. And we're going to count to 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in, exhale, and completely relax and push your thigh a little bit further. No? Yeah. Okay, so one more time. So what I want you to do is contract against your hand with your hip muscles. Yes. Okay, 10% effort, doesn't require a lot of effort. Remember to dorsiflex your ankle on the right side. Yeah. Okay, at the end of the 10 seconds, hold on. Yeah, at the end of the 10 seconds, I don't want you to back off your hand pressure. I want you to relax your hip pressure. Okay, so 10, 8, 7, 6, keep pushing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in. Keep pushing with your hand, but relax your hip. Totally relax your hip. Yeah. So yeah, again, push towards your hand. Push towards your hand with your hip. Yeah, and not from the top, like from the side. You're pushing like this. You're pushing down. Yeah. Okay. And deep breath in and relax. Yeah, down. Your knee should be going that way. Your knee should be going that way. That way. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do it one more time. So push against your hand. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath in, relax. And then push your thigh a little bit further and relax your hip. Relax your hip. Yeah. So what I would suggest you do, Jeanette, is you need to connect more with your breath. You need to connect more with your breath and really connect your nervous system to that side. Because what I'm seeing is what I should see is you take a deep breath, and I see your body kind of melt into the floor, and we'll see a little bit of like suppleness come over your body. Your breath isn't totally connected with your body. So what you want to do is breathe in deep when you do that contraction, exhale and completely relax, other than the hand pressure will continue a bit, but you relax your hip. What you're doing is you're tricking your body to not contract back against you. The reason why you don't have enough mobility in that area is not so much because of the tightness of the tissue per se. It's because the neurological system is guarding that area of your body, is not letting it loose. So you need to be able to tie in relaxation in your parasympathetic nervous system, which exhalations do, and pushing. And what the contraction does is, because you're voluntarily contracting, your body stops trying to involuntarily contract, and then you get more range of motion. So one of the most effective forms of stretching is contracting against the stretch you're trying to do for 10 seconds with 10% effort, relax, and like if anybody tries what I just taught with any stretch, they're going to get more range of motion in it. You didn't really get that much additional range of motion, but it's totally because you're not connecting your breath and your nervous system with relaxing those tissues. You're kind of being guarded in that area. So by you connecting your breath with that, doing this exercise, I think you'll find that you'll then be able to do the mobility position with greater ranges of motion. Like what you just showed me in the first position would get increased.
If I really did just some relaxing and some deep breathing, maybe put a bit of a wheat pack heat on it to relax myself and then try to do it, would that help stop me guarding it? Anyway, I'll play around with it. The main thing I believe you're saying is I need to get myself into a state where I feel like I'm guarding it less, and then go into the stretch.
Yeah. And you begin with the contraction, and then you need to train your body to be able to, when you exhale, you should visualize and see yourself releasing the tension. Like that's the proper way to stretch, is it's training your neurological system with the tissues. And when you exhale, you fully visualize exhaling stress and tension from your body. It's very powerful like this. And I don't really like your exhale, but you're not like really into it. So even just relaxing and like sitting like this, and then exhale and just let all your muscles go supple and relax. And then when you start applying it to your hip, allow that to happen, because a lot of your restriction is neurological. It's not just mechanical characteristics of the tissue.
Doesn't help being on camera too. I'm very shy.
Yeah. I can sense some of the nervous energy, and like the release wasn't happening. But when you go and do this outside the session, I'm certain, and you apply what I'm sharing, you're going to notice like, oh, wow, like, and you can apply this to any stretching. And that's really the way we should stretch ultimately, is like this. We need to tie our nervous system in with the tissues, because the thing that's restricting our tissues is also the nervous system. And this releases trauma, stress from the body, decreases pain. It's a really effective technique. So try it outside the session. And I think it's going to help you a lot. Yeah. Lots of love to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And Catherine, hello and welcome.
Right there, you can hear me now.
Yes, perfectly. Hi.
I don't feel like a couple of my things have been answered, because I've had 2 hips replaced. I've had both my hips replaced. And I'm thinking what I was just hearing about the guarding. I still find I have very little rotation in my hip. Even though they've been replaced and they're not as rigidly facing forward as they used to be. So I was, but my tension doesn't feel like it's in the back and the butt area. It's more in like the front of the groin. There's a really taut muscle in the front there. And I mean, I'm thinking it probably is still to do with guarding, because I think I protected my hips for so long. Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to continue with what you were talking about there, and how I can let it learn to open more that way. I'm not so bad with this way,
Right.
that I can't.
Yeah, I would have you do exactly what I was teaching Jeanette, but also, doing the band with the leg going out for like exactly what we did at the end of today's session, and applying what I just taught, which is like a little bit of contraction in. It doesn't have to be a lot of tension, just some contraction towards the inside, and then take a deep breath and completely relax and let it go further out, and do like 4 or 5 cycles of that over the course of about 90 seconds. That'll be a huge improvement for your mobility. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it, I guess. Repeat. Thank you.
Exactly. You're welcome. Absolutely. And lots of love to you too, Catherine. Rona, hello and welcome.
Hi again, just another quick question for you. One of my goals is to be able to get up and down off the floor. It sounds very simplistic, but I'm hoping that these exercises and stretches that you're showing us is going to one day enable me to do that. Or is there something else I should be doing to enable that action to happen with ease? Because it's very undignified the way I have to do it, and I'd like to be able to do it more easily.
So the guaranteed way is to become a VIP. We have a special training system for helping VIPs get on and off the ground, and it's something we really work a lot on. But mobility will help, but it is about mobility depending on the individual's restrictions, but it's really about stability and strength and motor control and alignment. And so you'd want to you sit up, and then you kind of go to your side and you transition your legs to where you're kind of in a lunge position, and then you stand up from there. That's the proper way to stand up. So just practicing the pattern and then getting better at that. The biggest encouragement I could give you is, as long as you're doing it correctly, I would practice getting on and off the floor. First, a lot of individuals that have trouble getting on and off the floor, I mean, I can understand it. They try to stay away from getting on and off the floor because they have trouble getting, and it's like, that's exactly the wrong thing to do. Just the opposite. If you have trouble doing something, you need to do more of it, not less of it. So yeah, I mean, that's the reason why we age, is because, mindset and physicality difficulties, we stop embracing challenges, and by stopping embracing challenges, we lose functionality. So it's important to embrace those challenges. Really important.
I think a lot of it really is fear, and fear of the pain, and fear of maybe getting stuck down there, and just wanting to be able to get yourself out of those situations. The other question I had, which one of the other ladies mentioned, I still get a bit of groin pain in my left groin, even though I've had the hip replaced. And so I had none after my right hip replacement. I had the groin pain before the operations. I still get the groin pain after my left one. If I do that stretch where I'm taking my left leg out again, is that going to help with that groin pain?
It can. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I would just always approach all exercises with comfort first. Like, you should be comfortable with it, comfortable with your body, your positioning. Like I was talking about with Jeanette, the pelvis and the alignment, and really have everything right, and then feel good the next day from what you did. And once you have that box checked, then you can start to push yourself a little bit further. For whatever reason, everyone wants to like run before they walk. So it's better to stay comfortable and feel good with what you're doing, and then increase it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
You're very welcome, of course. And Ronnie, hello and welcome. Good to see you again.
Okay, hi. So I'm fascinated at how this relates to what I'm dealing with, and also listening to the other people's questions really is quite helpful. So I discovered, I had a right LCL injury recently, and while I was doing the hip stuff this morning, or just now, it was interesting to me to find that when I did, oh gosh, I wish I could remember now, but the left hip is much stiffer in one. I want to say it was when we internally rotate across. I think it was when we were doing the final stretches and you're rotating your leg across. It seems like that was really difficult for me. And it was the opposite side, which makes me think that's part of this imbalance that you're talking about.
So
So does
let me
that,
get this. No, let me get this straight. So is your left leg crossing to the right?
yeah, I believe that was the way. It was it was either going out or in that I had trouble, but it was definitely the other leg. And the right knee is the one that I have the LCL injury. So I'm kind of wondering if it's because I'm much stiffer on that side that maybe my knee is compensating. Or I don't know, does that make sense? I was just curious because it seemed odd to me because most of the other ranges of motion you had us do, I was pretty good with.
Yeah, it might just be because you recently had an injury on the one side, so you're currently overusing the side that you can use. And because
Oh, that okay. So not the other way around. Not
and be,
not that I caused the injury to the knee so much as that. Oh, okay, that would make
and
sense.
when we expose tissues to much more work than they're used to, they get guarded oftentimes because they feel unstable, and so they
Right.
get more stiff because of the feeling of instability.
Instability. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So then one other question. I'm assuming that others are going to have this question, or I wouldn't ask it right now. I'm communicating with Patricia too, but I did wonder: is this kind of we need to take advantage of this right now, or we really can't be a part of the program? Because I'm about to move, and so I'm like, oh man, I need to do this so much, but this is probably not the ideal time for me to start this. Is that an option?
Well, you're going to learn. Well, if you come to a semi-private session, you're going to learn the details about that there. Or in the 5th session, you're also learn some of the additional details about that then. And for those who like can't want to start and have the means to start and everything, but they have like a trip or something going on where they can't start for a month, we have solutions to help facilitate that, and our team supports that. But basically there's going to be some unique gifts that are given during either semi-private or in the 5th session that enable you to start. And because we start in cycles and levels, so it's very important that we now's the time to start. And we do work with individuals that can't start on time. Like we do have systems for that, but ideally we want everyone to start on time. So to keep all that organized, we do incentives to like, okay, ready, let's go. If you want to do this now, So
okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Because the other issue too was my concern about that knee being injured, whether it was going to be maybe the better time to do it now, or maybe not so good. So I'll wait till the semi-private session so that I don't take others' time. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Ronnie. Good night to connect with you again. And Joe, hello and welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Can you please repeat what you said to Rona about getting off the floor?
Sure. I don't exactly remember, but for me, the most profound thing was embrace the challenge. Is that what, or the mechanics of getting off the floor?
The mechanics.
The mechanics of getting off the floor. So, so what you want to do is you want to have a stable support device close by. For example, the arm of a couch that's stable, that like you can push on as much as you want with your upper body, and it's not going to give way. You're not going to fall. Okay. So you basically, you lean over to one side, and then you take your leg and you tuck it back behind you. Right? You lean over to the side and you take the leg and you tuck it back behind you, so that you're getting like your leg comes back like this, right? Leg back like this, so that you start to get into a lunge position. So you end up in a position of a lunge, and you push up and get in the position of basically a lunge, except for you don't have any elevation. You're on the floor. It's what we call half kneeling position. So once you're in half kneeling, then you could use the arm of the couch or some other anchor point to be able to support yourself for the most difficult position. The most difficult is going from that half kneeling to getting some momentum going upwards. That's the most difficult position for everybody. So most people can get themselves in the position of that half kneeling. It's like, oh boy, okay, now getting from here, that's the difficulty. So you can use the arm of a couch to pull. You could use like we have bands that we use that have door anchors that go over the top of the door, and you could attach a device that you can like pull on that's supportive and help you get up from that half kneeling position. And then what I would recommend, and actually in our advanced training structure, so all of our VIPs eventually progress to our advanced training protocols. In that we have an exercise called the Turkish get up, and it's basically practicing getting on and off the floor in a very technical way. And we make our VIPs super proficient at getting on and off the floor, at doing that. And you practice it. And like any other exercise, don't do way more than what your body's used to. Challenge yourself, do enough to like, okay, I felt it. All right, then wait. Next day, how'd you feel? Oh, you feel a little extra sore beyond what you know you should. Okay, well, back off practicing that on the next time you do it. And oh, I felt good. Okay, great. So the next time you could add a rep or two to each side, practicing that. And it's good for you to practice one leg coming up underneath to that half kneeling position, like left leg in front, right leg behind. And then also practice it to the other side, right foot in front, or right leg in front, left leg behind, so that you're getting equal practice and patterning on both sides. Yeah, and if you do that, even if you have extreme difficulty getting on and off the floor, you do that for a few months, you're no longer gonna have an issue getting on and off the floor. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And another question: my knees get very sore when I squat, or when I go put my butt towards the floor with my feet down. Are these stretches going to help with that?
Yeah, and explain to me a little clear, please.
So if I'm doing a squat, like a low squat, my knees get extremely painful. So I'm just wondering if all the stretches you've done today will help with that.
The most important thing about that is keeping in really good alignment when you do the squat. And I would advise you not to do a low squat until you feel really good with a shallow squat. And once you feel really good with or like I shared earlier, a really good starting point is start from seated, like a moderate height seat, not something that puts you in a really low position, but at least with the hips and knees at like 90 degrees at most. Then stand up from there and sit back down. Stand up from there and sit back down. That's how you'd want to start your squats if you want to start the squat low. You wouldn't start like we did in the session where you just body weight and then go really low. You don't want to push your body to really the nth degree of mobility until you're adapted. You'd be better off keeping really good alignment and doing shallow squats and inch by inch increasing that. And also, like I just said, start from seated and go from the bottom up. When you go from the top down, keep it shallow until you start to feel comfortable in all the ranges of motion and keep good alignment. So that's most important. The least important, ultimately range of motion is important, but when you start, range of motion is not important at all. It's the positioning, it's the alignment, it's the mechanics that are most important. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Of course. And Adante, hello. How are you, buddy?
Hello, my friend. I'll try to be succinct as possible. The labrum on my right hip socket, I have no pain in my hip whatsoever, but I play league hardball, and after about fifth inning, I feel like that labrum, I did some MRI many years ago, and he says, and the doctor, physical therapy, he told me that I have thin cushions. I have thin meniscus, I have thin labrums. And he also said just that it's possibly that I'm fine and that I just have thin labriums and thin cushions and whatever. But the right side is a little thinner. I have no pain on them, but I get tired, and I'm wondering, the presentation that you made today regarding the alignment for the knees to minimize shearing, and that's where my end question is headed. Am I doing some shearing even though I don't have pain? I could almost, I'm not looking at you right now, but I could almost feel you telling me, yes, you have shearing, it's just that you don't have pain yet, or you could have shearing. And my end question here, and I'll end right here, I saw the reasoning, the rationale behind maximizing alignment, maximizing the stretching to allow space to occur so that shearing doesn't, with the knee. I didn't get it. Doesn't mean that you didn't do it or explain it correctly. I just didn't get it. And is anything that you did regarding hip today can create space? Can I make space there so I could not feel that gnawing, that little bit of a tiredness? It just feels like if I keep going, I'm gonna hurt something. And then before I hurt something, I was always doing shearing, and I have thin labrium to begin with. Thank you so much. Whatever you can speak to that, and I'm done.
Sure. And which actually, I was talking about the internal rotation from the seated position. Is this what you're speaking of?
I'll speak to when I feel it. I can do squats, no problem. Seating problem, up and down, that's not an issue. When I'm at the rubber, at the mound, I put my right foot on it, facing the catcher, and then I move towards the plate and I pull, I push away. This would be my right foot back here. I push away and I do my wind up, and then I use that as momentum. So it's a little unorthodox, my pitching. So
yeah. Oh, you're doing external rotation. Your foot is rotating out, and you're pushing away, basically.
Yeah, I'm pushing towards the catcher as I finish my wind up with my back foot, with my right foot to get back. I'm not a big person. I'm 5'10" and I weigh 157 pounds wet. So I need a lot of momentum to throw.
Sure.
So I'm just wondering, I want to actually stop playing and become an expert on how I could minimize shearing here or enhance the alignment. And I'm sure maybe whether I'm shearing or not, I'll be as far away from the possibility of shearing.
So the hip is designed for rotation. So you're not necessarily doing a biomechanical dysfunction in your body because it's designed for rotation. But we can always
I pivot like a ballerina when I'm finally getting to go. As you know, in baseball, that right foot is there, and I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as long as the reps aren't so high that you're getting into overuse issues, that's one thing too. Because even if a position is aligned or a motion or pattern, doesn't mean that you can't overuse that, right? So it's really important, like what does your body adapt to? We all have our tipping point to where we're going to start creating breakdown. Even with biomechanical optimization, you need to have the right dosage, the right volume of exercise to not overstress your tissues beyond which they're used to withstanding stress. So having the right alignment and positioning decreases the stress on the body, keeps the tension in the right tissues, creates more reaction forces. Like when your tissues contract, you apply it to the ground or to the situation that you're trying to perform in, you're going to have greater force output in easier motion. With all that said, we all have our tipping point of which it's too much. It's too much stress placed on the body, even with alignment. So, and when you're in a sport, it's difficult because you're into the sport, and we usually start with like way too many reps. So we're like so far into the curve of too many reps. It's like, how much do you need to back off? I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're not having any symptoms or anything. And then the last thing I would say to you, it has a lot to do with your pelvic alignment also. So like if you're doing something called a Trendelenburg, like you're lifting one side of the pelvis more, or the side you go to stand on drops out and the pelvis laterally shifts like this versus maintaining good quality alignment, then you're going to increase likelihood of shearing as well, big time. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much. All right,
Of
cheers.
course. Yeah, you're welcome, man. And hello and welcome to you, iPhone. I know that's not your name, but I'll have you share with me when we come up on here. Hello and welcome.
Is that me?
Yes, that's you. Hi,
Okay. The iPhone is Terry.
Terry. Okay. Hi, Terry.
So it's saying host would like you to unmute. So just unmute.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, you are. Yeah, you're
Well,
unmuted.
that was great feedback you just gave that person. So thank you very much, because I hopped out of the swimming pool quickly to join your class today. And I wanted to first thank you, because I can tell you know your stuff, because I believe everything's connected to everything from the floor up, from feet to knees, and a lot of people aren't on that page, 3 planes of motion. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just so agree. And completely interested in subtle alignment, like just swimming. Those of us who've been in sports or had injuries, just it's so subtle sometimes. And I want to thank you for those reminders today about just the knee as the pivot or the hinge joint, and just like over the second, third toe, just little things like that were so good. So much appreciation. So here's my question. So of course, I'm thinking of myself, as we all are with our own bodies, but I have a nephew who has never been able to bear weight, that was born with cerebral palsy in a wheelchair. And you can imagine the misalignment, what happens when you're always in a wheelchair. Do you have resources for young adults? I mean, do you work with people with that condition as well? And I just know there's so much wear and tear on the knees and the hips when you're not able to bear weight.
Yeah, we do. We do have some memberships. We actually call them, where our expert is like totally personalized, dedicated to an individual like that. We do that. But yeah, you'd have to kind of contact Patricia, and then we could have a conversation about that. It depends on their condition. They're going to need to be able to be responsive to coaching and that type of thing. But as long as that's there, then yeah, that we do
There's
some
possibility.
Yeah,
And it's the Zoom platform, right? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Are you guys on the West Coast, East Coast, or are you?
We're on the West Coast. Our headquarters is in Arizona.
Okay, I'm in Seattle. So, okay. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Look
Awesome.
forward to continuing. Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Patricia, would you like to share anything with us?
Yes, I would like to share. I actually will share my screen this time because I know that this is going to be a point of confusion. Okay, so today you will receive the checklist. The checklist is going to be for all of the full body fix days, the same page. What you're going to do is this. You're going to scroll down. Then here, session 1, where it's highlighted, is all the exercises for session 1. Right next to it has section 2. So if you click on it, it's going to change to session 2. So the checklist link is the same. It's just a click of a button to change the exercises. And when we have session 3, the same button is going to show up here, and then session 4 here. So you have all of the checklist day exercises in the same page. And based on that, you should have the email with the replay for this session today in your inbox. And in the email, you're going to have the session checklist also. Even though you already received, we're going to be sending every time. And this was session 2. We have 3 more sessions. Wednesday, we have session 3, Friday, session 4, and Saturday, session 5. We always use the same Zoom link, so you're welcome to join at different times if you would like to, or if you love the time that you picked, just use the same Zoom link. And I am assuming that Elaine, you have a question about that, because that's all.
Yes, I have a very quick question. So we get the email, okay? Can we download the email and save it someplace so that we can go to it? Or do we just have to save the email as an email and keep going into the email?
Are you talking about saving the checklist?
Yeah,
So what you can do is, let me share my screen again. See here on the top of the URL bar, you have
okay,
a star. If you click on the star, you're going to add to your bookmarks bar, which is this bar here.
okay,
And then you can simply access by clicking again on the star that you chose. This is called a bookmark.
okay.
And you
So,
can
so
bookmark.
every day it's every day, excuse me. Just for the sake of discussion, I save session 1 that way, okay? Will session 2 automatically show up in that? So I don't
Yes.
have to keep saving. I don't have to keep saving.
That's
Okay,
why
thank you.
we put everything in one page, so it's not 5 different pages with 5 different, that would be
Right.
too much to handle. So it's all in one page, and it goes opening as the day goes, as we go
Great.
presenting the sessions.
Thank you. Great.
You're
It's great. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Okay, and do you have anything else to announce, Robbie?
No, I was just gonna say you're good at building systems too. Very, very smart. The digital system is very good. I'm impressed.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. We
Yes.
try to make everything as easy as possible. So when we create something new, we grab my mom that is 64 and super challenged and tell her, hey, please go ahead and do it. And if she can do it, everybody else can do it. So this is our system. Yeah, we cannot say to make it as a 4-year-old can do it, because now 4-year-olds can do incredible things. They already are born with a phone in their hands. And today we're gonna do something cool. We're going to all unmute ourselves and share our love with Robbie, because he's so graceful. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Robbie, we love you.
Hey, thanks, Robbie.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Many
Appreciate you.
thanks.
It was great.
You
It was really great.
So much.
It'll be
Thank you
great
so
referring
much.
back to this too.
Bye,
It'll
full
be great to be able to move.
You're
You
ahead
will
of your
move.
time, Rob. You're ahead of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Lots of love to each of you.
Thank you.
Bye, full body fixers. We will see each other again on Wednesday for session 3. Much love.
Lots of love to each of you. Wonderful to connect with you here. It's been my pleasure. We'll see you in your next session.